Chapter 31 You believe such nonsense. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the cave, Qin Feng strengthening has not yet ended, and the calling system began to draw a lottery, clap. The big lottery turntable reappeared and began to spin unsteadily. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for winning the invincible sword heart, invincible sword heart. The ultimate form pursued by sword practitioners, there is no woman in their hearts, and the god of nature draws the sword, which has 10 times the damage bonus to swordsmanship. The skirts of Qin Feng's body began to move without the wind, and the aura of the whole person changed instantly. He was as lonely as a snow lotus standing against the wind on a cliff, with a force that shook people's hearts. What happened? Xi Yuan quickly rubbed her eyes, feeling inexplicably that she would affect Qin Feng's speed of drawing his sword. Sword intent, sword heart. Qin Feng found out that he and the sword are really destined, and he opened 2 buffs that superimposed the damage of swordsmanship, coupled with the 100% fit that was exchanged just now. I really can't imagine how terrifying the heaven-slashing sword technique is now. I really want to find someone to try the sword. Qin Feng suppressed the eagerness to move in his heart, waved his hand and took out a roll of bamboo slips from his portable space. This is the treasure I got from Lin Sanyu's box. There is no word on it, but it exudes a kind of breath that makes people feel calm. Could this be the bamboo slips of saints? Ziyuan took the bamboo slip with a serious face, and flipped through it several times to confirm. That's right. It is the bamboo slips of saints. It is said that the bamboo slips of saints were handed down by sages in ancient times. There are 3 volumes of heaven, earth and people in total. Those who have a predestined relationship can realize the supreme way from the bamboo slips, while those who have no predestined relationship will not see a single word. This thing is the sage bamboo slips. Qin Feng also heard the 10 ancestors mention it, and knew that this thing is very popular. Every time in this world, there will be a bloody storm, and anyone who can understand something from it is all famous and peerless powerhouses in history. It's just that he watched it for a long time, but didn't realize anything. It's not scientific. Qin Feng didn't understand this very much. His comprehension halo has not expired for a month, so how could he not be able to comprehend something with his clever little head and 100 times of comprehension? Ziyuan replied, the bamboo slips of a sage don't just need to have high comprehension, they also need fate, just like the Buddhists say that there is a destiny with the Buddha. Rubbish. Qin Feng looked at the bamboo slips of the sage with disgust, and everything he couldn't use was rubbish. Tooth. Xiao Bai seemed to have sensed something, and walked over with unsteady short legs, and then lay down on the bamboo slips of the saint, showing a satisfied expression. Use the bamboo slips of saints as a summer mat. The little guy is creative. Qin Feng didn't intend to stop him, and let Xiao Bai use the bamboo slips as a mat. Ziyuan was speechless watching from the sidelines. He actually used the bamboo slips of sages who were fighting for his life as a mat for the rabbit. Ding, ding. There was a sound of fighting outside the cave, and someone called Lin San's name vaguely. Isn't this a coincidence? Qin Feng regained his spirit immediately. Don't miss Lin San so much. Ever since he separated from Lin San that day, he has never thought about tea or food, and his mind is full of Lin San's figure. Go out and see. Qin Feng put Xiao Bai and the sage bamboo slips into a bamboo basket, carried them behind his back, and took Ziyuan out to check what was going on. Soon the 2 came to the scene. Under the moonlight, Lin San was besieged by a group of transcendent monks, forcing him to hand over the jade box he got in the ruins. I've said it many times, the jade box is empty. Lin San has experienced dozens of battles, big and small, and his whole body is covered with scars, but with the powerful aura of the protagonist, he still doesn't fall down, and he fights back and forth with the opponent. Do you think we will believe this kind of deceiving ghost? The other party snorted coldly, and the attack became more rapid. This Mr. Lin is really talking nonsense with his eyes open. Ziyuan watched from the side and shook her head. She even gave up her life for the treasure. Qin Feng said very seriously, I think Lin San's words are very sincere, and the jade box is indeed empty. Do you believe this kind of nonsense? Ziyuan couldn't help but roll her eyes, and found that Qin Feng was really too simple. Bang. The situation on the scene has changed. I saw two figures rushing into the battle circle, a straight punch and a leg sweep, directly knocking Lin San into the air, breaking 4 or 5 trees in a row before stopping. It's the Shiman brothers, the Lang and Er Lang, that the Transcendent Realm monks around were very unwilling. They finally met Lin San, and they were about to die. Who would have thought that Tu Qing Yao Jin would suddenly appear on the way? They are still at the 3rd level of the spirit martial realm, and they can only watch the ducks fly away with their beaks. Fuck. Qin Feng couldn't help swearing, and saw Lin San falling beside him. It's Qin Feng. The eyes of the Shiman family brothers brightened, and they said in their hearts that they got rich today. They teamed up to beat Lin San into the air, and accidentally blasted out Qin Feng, who was watching the play while hiding. I said I don't know him well, I just passed by, do you believe me? Qin Feng asked weakly. What do you think? The brothers of the Shiman family seemed to have seen the peerless beauty as if they were LSPs, and rushed forward with their eyes shining, and surrounded the two of them. Brother Lin, let's join hands. Qin Feng said sincerely. I'm afraid of being betrayed. Lin San stood up and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, always feeling that Qin Feng was the 6th child who plotted against him behind his back. Qin Feng yelled for injustice. Brother Lin, I have always treated you as a half-brother. What good will it do me if I betray you? This. Lin San felt inexplicably that what Qin Feng said was reasonable, but no one gave him a prize for bullying himself. Whoosh. The brothers of the Shiman family kicked their feet hard, and they rushed in front of the two in an instant. I have heard about the achievements of these two Tianjiao, so the two brothers did not dare to be careless, and used their own ultimate moves as soon as they came up. Fuck, don't talk about martial arts. Qin Feng couldn't help swearing, and his figure flew a few feet like a wild goose. If you want to fight, let's fight. There was a touch of madness in Lin San's eyes, and the long sword in his hand shone with a dazzling sword light. Immediately, the extremely fierce sword aura raged in the forest like a torrent, and all the dead leaves falling in the air turned into dust, and dozens of overwhelming sword aura swept towards Erlang Wujia. Is this the sword from that night? Qin Feng's heart jumped unconsciously, and he could clearly feel the horror of this sword. Swish, swish, swish. The fierce sword energy swept out like overwhelming the sky. Even the air seemed to be torn apart, destroying everything it passed, and the momentum was extremely huge. Not good. Semenjia Erlang's expression changed suddenly, and a surge of terrifying energy rushed out from all around. Boom. The two collided heavily, and a storm of sword energy swept across the forest. Puff. Semenjia Erlang spat out a mouthful of blood, and instantly lost his fighting power. This is the descendant of the Chongkong sword god, the first sword in 100 years. The surrounding transcendent realm hurriedly resisted the storm of sword energy, and were also quite frightened by Lin San's terror. Ha ha. Panting heavily, Lin San glanced at Qin Feng triumphantly, as if to say, the reason why I lost to you and the Qin family last time was because I knew how to save face for you. To this Qin Feng's response was to hide behind Lin San, and challenged Dalong of Shiman's family. Come on, you little bastard, if you dare to fight against my third brother said he can fight 10 more. Chapter 32 Repression of Contemporary Times. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Puff. Lin San almost spat out a mouthful of, year-old blood, but Qin Feng really didn't want any face. It was agreed that the two sides would join forces to defeat the enemy, but he just opened his mouth and didn't work. I really thought his ULT had no cooldown time. Even if the cooling time is up, it will take 10 years of lifespan to use it every time. It can be said that he is using his life to pretend that he will never use it until the moment of life and death. Damn. Dalong of Shiman's family on the opposite side didn't care what Lin San was thinking. Seeing his younger brother being injured and seeing Qin Feng's provocation, his anger was instantly full, and majestic spiritual power rippled out of his body, causing the void ripples. Whoosh. Dalang's fingers were as sharp as eagle claws, making a sharp sound of breaking the wind. All the moves were aimed at Lin San's vital points, extremely ruthless. The veins on his arms throbbed, and an indescribable pressure surged out. Under the oppression of this breath, the air within a few meters was frozen. Fuck. Lin San couldn't help swearing, and quickly raised the long sword in his hand to block it. Clang, clang, clang. The sword shadow collided with the claw shadow, making the sound of gold and iron intersecting, and sparks continued to splash out. It's just that Lin San just finished using his big move, and the cultivation bases of the two sides are still far apart, so he can't do it after only holding on for 3 seconds. Puff. The eagle claws flashed, and blood spurted wildly. Lin San's painful face was distorted to a disguised form, and bloodstains were scratched on his body. Finished. The hearts of the people eating melons around me rose to their throats, wondering if Lin San had any cards left. Qin Feng, what are you waiting for? Hurry up. Lin San retreated repeatedly after being beaten, and his body suffered more and more wounds. You count on Qin Feng. Dalong of Shimon's family didn't know if he was drifting away, or what was going on, and said mockingly, he is nothing after leaving the Qin family, but he is just a fool who relies on his brother's supreme bone to show off everywhere. It seems that if you don't show some strength, you don't respect me a little bit. The hem of Qin Feng's clothes began to be unable to move automatically, and the aura of the whole person changed instantly. He was as lonely as a snow lotus standing against the wind on a cliff, with a force that shook people's hearts. While the corner of the clothes fluttered, an unparalleled sword intent surged out from the whole body, and the sky Excalibur in his hand suddenly burst out with a bright sword light, galloping like a galaxy. This is sword intent. Everyone around immediately exclaimed, and couldn't believe their eyes. An 8-year-old child has comprehended the sword intent. Nima. For years earlier than Lin comprehended the sword intent at the age of 32, could it still leave a way for ordinary practitioners to survive? But what everyone didn't expect was that Qin Feng's buff hadn't been stacked yet. The sharp, unstoppable sword burst out from the body, crazily raging in the forest, like countless blades slashing across everyone's faces. Kenshin, this is invincible Kenshin. Someone present recognized Kenshin and screamed in disbelief. Sword intent can be sought, sword heart is hard to achieve. How many people have practiced swords all their lives, but they can't comprehend the sword intent, and how many people have comprehended the sword intent all their lives, but they can't condense the invincible sword heart? If comprehending the sword intent can become a famous contemporary sword, then condensing the invincible sword heart can become the ancient sword god. Throughout the countless years of ancient times, there are only a handful of people who can be called sword gods, but each of them is an unrivaled warrior who suppressed the arrogance of today, and the most recent one is the sword god of the sky 10,000 years ago. Ever since the sword god of the sky fell, there has been no sword god in the world ever since. Did not expect. Did not expect. They were able to see the sword god's demeanor today, and he was still a child who had comprehended Genshin at the age of 8. Sword intent, sword heart, how is it possible? Lin San was completely dumbfounded, and his mind went blank. As the descendant of the sky sword god, he comprehended the meaning of the sword at the age of 12, and was hailed as the first sword in 100 years. Every title is so dazzling, but it is eclipsed in front of this 8-year-old child. Run! The brothers of the Shimon family panicked completely, and turned to leave, trying to stay away from this monster. As a Confucian disciple, I have something to say to the two of you. Once you come, you will be safe. The corner of Qin Feng's mouth raised slightly, and his hand fell on the hilt of the sword. Clang. The crisp sound of the sword being drawn surged, like a galaxy coming out from the vast sea of clouds, carrying endless sword intent to the forest. What kind of sword style is this? Shimon's Dalong's pupils shrank suddenly, not daring to be negligent. His fingers were as sharp as eagle claws and made a sharp sound of breaking the wind. Ding. I could only hear the sound of clanging and powerful metal and iron swaying in my ears. Sparks splashed, and the dead leaves all over the ground were lifted. An astonishing storm suddenly boomed in midair, and the dazzling sword light flashed past. Tick-tock. In the midst of this majestic momentum, a drop of blood dripped from the sky sword. When the dead leaves fell, a series of blood dripped from the bodies of the Shimon family brothers, and they fell hard in the pool of blood. Ding dong! Congratulations to the host for beheading 2 people and gaining 200 villain points. Since you're here, let's be buried here. Qin Feng glanced lightly, and picked up the 2 people's storage bags. In addition to darts and other hidden weapons for walking in the rivers and lakes, there was also a secret book called bone.I. It's so vile, that with a critical look, Qin Feng put away his things, carried the bamboo beetle on his back, and led Ziyuan, who was still in a daze, to leave. Guru. Everyone around swallowed their saliva. No one dared to chase Qin Feng again. This is the Tianjiao who comprehends the invincible sword heart. Offending him is tantamount to offending the future sword god. No force can bear the wrath of a sword god. Soon, the explosive news about Qin Feng spread, and the whole Huanggu also boiled. Good, good, good. After hearing the news, the ancestor of the Qin family hid under the blanket and laughed loudly. I thought that Qin Feng's use of the supreme bone would damage his invincible heart, but he never expected that the surprise would come so suddenly. Invincible Kenshin. The symbol of the sword god can suppress the contemporary era. It's Qin Hao who is missing now. That the ancestors of the Qin family were no longer worried about Qin Feng, but worried about whether Qin Hao could come out of the shadows, break through and become the supreme position. Daxia Palace. Emperor Daxia is happily choosing a concubine, feeling that he is not old at all and capable, but before he started to be happy, he was urgently called to a meeting by a group of ministers. At first, he still felt that these veterans were flustered and unreasonable. But when he heard that Qin Feng killed a third-level spiritual martial arts cultivator with a single sword, and realized the heart and intent of the sword, he couldn't sit still at all. Qin Feng belongs to the Qin family, and it may not be known if he returns to the Qin family. Comprehend the invincible sword heart, and the big mistakes can be covered up. The supreme bone, the invincible sword heart, and the capital of the great emperor gather together in one person. I really can't imagine it. Now that the Qin family's order to kill Qin Feng has not been cancelled, we can justifiably kill Qin Feng. Your Majesty should continue to stop, but suffer from chaos. The face of Emperor Daxia kept changing, and finally ordered to kill Qin Feng at all costs. Chapter 33. You are listening at novelfull.audio. By a small stream, Lin San looked at Qin Feng, who was playing with Ziyuan in the creek with a complicated expression. He never expected that an 8-year-old child would actually surpass him in the way of swordsmanship. The superimposed sword intent and sword heart sword cutting and sword drawing technique is really terrifying. His big move comes from the sword god of the sky. On the other hand, Qin Feng created his own swordsmanship, and he is still an 8-year-old kid. How can he not fall into self-doubt? Ding dong, congratulations to the host for hitting the self-confidence of the chosen son, making him doubt himself, and gaining 10 villain points. That's 10 points. Qin Feng immediately regained his energy, turned his head and asked with a smile, Brother Lin, your swordsmanship is so powerful, can you teach me the basic moves of swordsmanship? Basic sword moves. Lin San immediately became angry, and shouted loudly, Qin Feng, you are enough, you have even comprehended the invincible sword heart, you let me teach you basic sword moves. Is it interesting for you to humiliate me like this? Sister Ziyuan, he's pissing me off. With tears in his mouth, Qin Feng threw himself into Ziyuan's arms and rubbed it, full of grievances. I really don't know any basic sword moves, I can only draw a sword by myself. Drawing the sword. Slashing the sky and drawing the sword. The corners of Lin San's eyes twitched unconsciously, and a groundhog howled in his heart, Nima. Do you want to hit people like this? A person who can only draw swordsmanship, not even basic sword moves, has comprehended the legendary invincible sword heart. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for hitting the self-confidence of the chosen son, making him doubt himself, and gaining 10 villain points. Lin San, why are you so fierce? He's just a child. Ziyuan was like a tigress protecting her cubs. She looked at Lin San with even more disgust. It's okay if you don't have a gentleman's demeanor, but you dare not admit it when you get the treasure. You destroy the ruins and kill so many people, and now you dare to bully the future husband she is going to raise with your own hands. Others are afraid of his Tianqin city, but she has never put it in her eyes. I did not mean that. Lin San also felt that his words were too much, and he said depressedly, I just didn't expect him to comprehend the invincible sword heart, but he can't even know the basic sword moves. It's unbelievable to say it. Qin Feng came over to comfort him and said, "Brother Lin, you don't need this expression. You are the first sword after 100 years. I believe you will be able to comprehend the invincible sword heart. You see, I just farted last night and comprehended it." I said, "Why did you have that expression last night?" "It turned out that you were covering up your farting." Ziyuan's face was full of disgust, and she started to fight with Qin Feng again. He didn't think about Lin San's mood at all. It's fine for Showdown to bully a single dog. Why did he come to comfort him, and why did he insist on mentioning the first sword after 100 years? Does he deserve it now? Also use a fart to describe how easy it is to comprehend the invincible sword heart. Nima. How can a person go so far? It's just rubbing salt in his wounds. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for hitting the self-confidence of the chosen son, making him doubt himself, and gaining 10 villain points. By the way, Brother Lin, Qin Feng turned his head again and said, "I comprehended the sword intent first last night, and then the invincible sword heart, which is actually very simple." Ding dong, congratulations to the host for hitting the self-confidence of the chosen son, making him doubt himself, and gaining 10 villain points. Lin San picked up the long sword, turned and left silently. He must stay away from this brat now. If he stays with him any longer, he is afraid that his heart will not be able to bear it. "Brother Lin, where are you going?" Qin Feng ran ashore in a hurry, put on his shoes and chased after him. Joke. He earned 40 villain points in just a few words. How could he just run away like this? He must carry forward the spirit of dog skin plaster and stick to him. Boom. An earth-shattering roar resounded crazily in the sky, and the clouds in the sky rolled in like a tide. In an instant, the void with a radius of thousands of miles was filled with a terrifying coercion, and the void was violently turbulent. Under the command of the great Xia Emperor, Marquis Chang Ri and Chang Kuan, by order of His Majesty, are here to take Qin Feng's head. A burly figure was floating in the air riding an unknown monster, and there were thousands of well-trained armored guards behind him. The momentum was like a rainbow, and the gods and demons avoided it. "Long Ri Ho, Chang Kuan." The monk who was chasing Qin Feng nearby exclaimed, shocked by the scene in front of him. They are very familiar with Chang Kuan. The boss of the Imperial City Division is the personal guard of the great Xia Emperor, and his cultivation level is so strong that he absolutely does not need to be described in words. Now the entire Imperial City Department is dispatched, and the boss Chang Kuan is still leading the team himself, just to deal with Qin Feng, who is only 8 years old and has a third-level extraordinary cultivation. It's really a heifer on the steamer. It's really, steamed, awesome. Damn it, it's such a big show. Qin Feng knows that this matter cannot be resolved today, and he is ready to log into the full-level red-haired monster at any time. Boom! Another earth-shattering roar resounded crazily in the sky, and another group of horses descended like clouds and fog, and the terrifying coercion unabashedly swept across the world. The powerful momentum overwhelmed the Imperial City Division. Qin Feng is a member of my Qin family, so there is no need to bother the royal family to do it. That as the head snake in the east, the Qin family knew immediately that the Imperial City Secretary was coming and what they wanted to do, so the 10 patriarchs came with the 13 Taibao himself. If the expected plan cannot continue, Qin Feng will be brought back to the Qin family safely, Chang Kuan said without any fear. Your Majesty doesn't want to do it yourself, but Qin Feng is rebellious and cruel to brothers and sisters, and he is afraid that your Qin family will not do it, so I let me do it. Who said my Qin family can't do anything? That the 10 patriarchs said with piercing eyes. Today, the old man will take him back to enforce the Qin family's family law. Enforce the family law. Chang Kuan mocked without any concealment. As long as your Qin family really has that kind of heart, it is impossible for Qin Feng to live to this day. I don't think your Qin family is raising goo, or there are some ulterior secrets. Whatever you say. The 10 patriarchs stopped talking, and reached out to catch Qin Feng. Don't even think about it. Chang Kuan's gaze sharpened suddenly, and with an extra halberd in his hand, he drove the monster below him to swoop down. Boom. The two sides collided heavily, a powerful energy storm swept across the world, the ground began to shake violently, and ferocious cracks began to spread continuously. Run, that the people around were running in fear. It was like gods fighting and mortals suffering. This marquis has known for a long time that your Qin family will not submit obediently. Fortunately, this marquis has been prepared for it. A sneer appeared on the corner of Chang Kuen's mouth, and he took out a cloud-piercing arrow and shot it into the air. Boom! The cloud-piercing arrow exploded in the air, and a big Qin character appeared. Boom! The terrifying coercion continued to descend, and banners representing the major forces appeared one after another. Dongchang, Xichang, Jinyue, and major families also came, with at least 10,000 plus people. What? 10 Patriarch's face changed drastically. He didn't expect so many people to come. This is the rhythm of today's battle if Qin Feng is not dead. Qin Feng, I'm sure I'll kill you today, it's useless to anyone. Chang Kuan held a war halberd domineeringly and pronounced Qin Feng's death sentence to the entire ancient world. Chapter 34 I admit that I have gambling elements. You are listening at novelfull.audio. God. The people around were trembling with fright, saying that they had never seen such a big scene before. In order to kill a Qin Feng, Emperor Daxia actually mobilized so much power, which shows how afraid he is of the eldest son of the Qin family who has the qualifications of a great emperor. What a big stage. The clouds in the sky were churning again, and cold laughter came from far and near. On the horizon in the distance, 10,000 plus people were approaching, and the ground trembled every time they took a step. Leading the way was a black Qin flag, filled with a murderous aura. At the same time, there were 5 more figures beside the 10 patriarchs of the Qin family, namely the 5th patriarch, the 6th patriarch, the 7th patriarch, the 8th patriarch, and the 9th patriarch. This scene. Lin San was frightened by the scene in front of him. He thought that the noise he made was big enough, but he didn't expect that compared with Qin Feng's noise, it was just a child's fight. The two sides are at war, ready to fight at any time. Chang Kuan sneered and said, "It looks like your Qin family is going to protect Qin Feng to death. Qin Feng violated the clan rules, so he will naturally be brought back to the clan to be punished." The 5th patriarch with the highest seniority in the audience replied lightly, not paying attention to Chang Kuan's imperial city secretary at all. As for the East Factory, West Factory, and Jinyue, they are even more scumbags. They are just some bluffing institutions set up by the Daxia royal family. In the country ruled by the aristocratic family in the Daxia dynasty, any aristocratic family would not take these institutions seriously, so they looked for a sense of presence among those mortals. Only the aristocratic families present are what they are most afraid of. There is nothing to judge this kind of beast that harms the people. It's better to kill it directly. A family spoke first. They don't know what they think about the Qin family, what plans they have, and they don't want to know. They only know that now is the best time to kill Qin Feng, and it will be difficult if they miss this time, but let them do it directly. Obviously they don't dare. The name of the first family is not for nothing. It is better to encourage the royal family to take the lead, and just wave the flag and shout along. Murdering the tribe. Xi Yuanlu frowned slightly. She didn't believe it at all. During these days with Qin Feng, she also heard something about digging out her brother's supreme bone, but she was more willing to believe her eyes. Qin Feng in her eyes. When faced with an unfamiliar big demon sister asking for help, she did not hesitate to take out 15 blood bodies to help her. When facing life and death, leave the chance of life to her. And big demon elder sister handed over the child to him to take care of. He didn't complain, but took good care of Xiao Bai. One by one, all proved that Qin Feng is a pure and kind person. She felt that Qin Feng must have been framed by others, and she had to find a way to save him, and she must not let him fall into the hands of the Daxia royal family and the Qin family. I won't bother you to worry about this. The 5th patriarch was extremely strong and was about to forcibly take Qin Feng away. Qin Feng is not dead today. There must be a battle between the two sides. A cold light flashed in Chang Kuan's eyes, and terrifying energy surged from his body, causing the surrounding void to vibrate, and the halberd in his hand also burst into a dazzling cold light. Fight, fight, fight. Thousands of imperial city officials behind Chang Kuan shouted in unison, and a solid murderous aura swept the audience, making people feel like falling into a hole in the ice. Perhaps because of the infection of Chang Kuan and others, masters such as Dong Chang, Shi Chang, and Jie Wei also entered the fighting state one after another, waiting for an order to start charging. On the other hand, the masters of the major aristocratic families looked at each other, and they all saw the word moyu in each other's eyes. Let the people of the royal family take the lead first. If you kill Qin Feng, everyone will be happy. Afterwards, hold hands and go to the Qin family to have a banquet. If Qin Feng can't be killed, they can only do it, and then go to the royal family to eat side by side. Just fight. That the eyes of the ancestors of the Qin family became sharper, ready for an all-out war. Originally, they wanted to temporarily hide the two arrogances of the family according to Qin Feng's plan, and then have a showdown when they have absolute strength. But who knew that the plan could not keep up with the changes? The Emperor Daxia was so afraid of their Qin family to such an extent. In order to eliminate Qin Feng's hidden danger, so many masters were dispatched at once, so that the Qin family had to fight. No, no, no. Seeing that the two sides were preparing to start a war, Qin Feng felt extremely depressed. He has been a good baby for 8 years, and he finally left home to let himself go. If there is a war now, wouldn't he have to log into the red-haired old monster, and then go home to be a good baby for 10 years? Then let's fight. Chang Kuan drove the monster under his seat and swooped towards Qin Feng. Kill, kill, kill. The deafening killing sounds of the armies on both sides resounded throughout the world, and each of them charged with a violent aura. Lin San and the others in the middle were trembling, and they had already started cursing their mothers in their hearts. It's true that Qin Feng is a scourge, but they are innocent. I see who of you dares to hurt Qin Feng. Ziyuan stood in front of Qin Feng with a determined face, holding a purple jade tablet tightly in her hand. Fate card. The people on both sides immediately exclaimed and stopped attacking one after another. The fate card is bestowed by a powerful person to the younger generation, which is equivalent to the gold medal given by the emperor to his subordinates, and it represents Ruzhen's presence in person. The only difference is that the gold medal is entirely based on the deterrent power of the imperial power. Whoever can sense the shattering of the life card can directly tear the void and descend. I admit that I gambled, but I didn't expect to bet right. Qin Feng said in his heart that he had made money, and that Wanfan would be settled in the future. It's just a fate card. Chang Kuan was still stubborn and didn't take Ziyuan's threats seriously. Fate cards can only be made by those who are powerful, but it doesn't mean that they don't have masters of this level in Great Xia. The current emperor of Great Xia, the reclusive supreme emperor, and the first and second ancestors of the Qin family are all masters of this level, and they are the best among them. Yes. Ziyuan was also not used to anyone, so she threw the life card directly on the ground. With a bang, the life card shattered. Fuck. Chang Kuan burst into foul language on the spot, indicating that the opponent did not play cards according to the routine. Even if we are in a hostile relationship, we should sit down and talk about it anyway. If we don't agree with each other, we will throw a cup as a sign. Isn't it a bit too anxious? Ow. A deep roar sounded suddenly, and the giant claws covering the sky and the sun protruded from the void. Thunder raged, and ancient patterns emerged from it, interweaving into the trajectory of the rules of the world, bursting out bright and dazzling light, as if from ancient times time and space are torn apart. Boom! The earth-shattering roar suddenly resounded between the heaven and the earth, and the majestic power was enough to completely sink the 10,000 zhang heaven and earth, crushing all existence. When the body of the giant claw appeared, everyone in the audience forgot to breathe. Bastard. A giant bastard that covers the entire world. To be precise, it is the legendary mythical beast Xuanwu. On Xuanwu's head, there is also a beautiful fairy lady, dressed in red. Her eyes are blurred, her lips are slightly parted, her breasts are so touching, every frown and smile reveals infinite charm. Chapter 35 The Fateful Showdown. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Moon Dynasty, Moon God. The pupils of Chang Kuan and the others suddenly shrank, not expecting that it would be her. Moon God is one of the top 5 masters of the Yinhua dynasty, plus the ancestral mythical beast Xuanwu. Even the emperor of the Yinhua dynasty has to talk to her politely. At the same time, Luna is also one of the 4 beauties in the ancient times, with many suitors, including some top experts. This is Huanggu's sealing combat power. Lin San was frightened by the terrifying strength of the moon god, and also understood how far he had to go. With his own strength, he coerced tens of thousands of people on both sides, including experts of the ancestor level of the Qin family. Several patriarchs of the Qin family looked at each other in shock, wondering where the little girlfriend Qin Feng Mei befriended could actually summon the moon god of the Inuit dynasty, but this is exactly what they want, and they can send Qin Feng to study abroad in the Inuit dynasty. Oh, it's quite lively. Looking at the tens of thousands of horses below, Luna lightly opened her red lips, and the panting voice of Jie Jie shocked all the male creatures in the audience. Moon god, this is my great Xia territory, it's not your turn to be presumptuous. Chang Kuen's voice was deafening, waking up all the male creatures in the audience, and they couldn't stand it in their hearts. They were indeed the legendary four beauties of ancient times, and their panting almost made them fall. I'm so scared. Luna put on a delicate appearance, raised her slender hand and flicked Chang Kuen lightly. Puff! Chang Kuen immediately spat out a mouthful of blood, and fell heavily from the air to the ground. Qi is like a gossamer, and life hangs by a thread. The eyelids of everyone in the audience trembled, and they were frightened by Luna's methods. She strikes at the slightest disagreement, even if it is the head of the Imperial City Department in Daxia, it can't take her casual blow. Lord Ho! Everyone in the Huangqing division rushed up and began to rescue Chang Kuen. Hopeless, the big families kept chattering on the sidelines, thinking that they would go to the Imperial City Department for dinner later. Ziyuan, where are you going? Moon God glanced down, and found that Ziyuan was pulling Qin Feng to sneak away, and her slender hands touched again, and the two of them immediately floated in the air. It's over. Ziyuan knew that she couldn't run away, and she rubbed the corner of her clothes like a child who did something wrong and called out, Auntie. What auntie? This is clearly auntie. Qin Feng couldn't help looking at Luna Lai, and said in his heart that he didn't want to work hard anymore. You must put a long line and catch auntie. You still know I'm your aunt. Luna stretched out his hand and knocked on Ziyuan's little head, and said angrily, it's fine to run away from home without making a sound, but in order not to let me find it, she ran to Daxia dynasty. In case you have any troubles, how can you explain to my sister and brother-in-law? Auntie, I was wrong, don't knock, don't knock. Ziyuan hurriedly begged for mercy, and pulled Qin Feng over to attract firepower. I have gained a lot this time. His name is Qin Feng. He not only comprehended the sword intent, but also comprehended the invincible sword heart. Qin Feng. Moon God stopped in midair and looked at Qin Feng with interest. As for the peerless genius of the Qin family who was born as a great emperor, their Inuit dynasty had already heard the news. Recently, they also got the news that Qin Feng had dug out his brother's supreme bone and issued an order to kill Qin Feng. I thought that this child was abolished and his invincible heart was lost, so it was nothing to worry about, but he didn't expect him to comprehend the even more terrifying invincible sword heart. Qin Feng said seriously, Sister Luna, do you believe in love at first sight? You know how to fall in love at first sight at such a young age. Luna couldn't help covering her lips and said with a smile, I think you are just looking for sex. How do you know? Qin Feng said very seriously, that's right, I just wanted to see the sex. I decided to grow up and marry you as my wife. Have a future. The ancestors of the Qin family shouted frantically in their hearts, telling Qin Feng to take down the moon god. It's best to use the ancestral beast Xuanwu as a dowry. If it's not possible, it can also be considered as a son-in-law of the Qin family. Cuckoo. Luna couldn't bear it anymore, and smiled like a beautiful girl. As one of the four beauties of the ancient times, she has countless suitors, but it is the first time that an 8-year-old kid confesses her love in public. The moon god smiled, that the male creatures in the audience were completely infatuated, and felt that they had no regrets in this life. Humph. Ziyuan puffed her cheeks angrily, wishing she could kick Qin Feng down. Fortunately, she was worried to death because of this stinky brother, and even used up the precious life card, but he missed her aunt. Luna smiled and asked, Little brother, I found that you are not very big, but you have a lot of confidence. Qin Feng said very seriously, a man's self-confidence does not come from his height, but from the shamelessness deep in his heart, and whether he will fall from the sky or not. What a little rascal, but my sister likes it. That there was a meaningful smile on the corner of Luna's mouth, and he became more and more interested in the little guy Qin Feng. At this time, the old voice of the first ancestor of the Qin family came from the sky. The moon god is here. It is really a disappointment, but Qin Feng killed the brothers of the same clan. I hope the moon god will give my Qin family a face. How about handing him over? What if I say no? Moon god's beautiful eyes narrowed slightly, obviously not intending to let people go. Aside from Qin Feng's character of harming brothers of the same clan, his talent alone is worth opening the door for him by any force. Even the Inuit dynasty is no exception. Then don't blame the old man for not being a landlord. That the first ancestor appeared on the scene in a flash, without the cool special effects of other big shots. He looked like an ordinary old man who was dying, but no one dared to underestimate this old man. The ancestor of the Qin family was one of the founders of the Great Xia dynasty and the #1 powerhouse of the Great Xia dynasty. If it weren't for the lack of background of the Qin family back then, the Great Xia imperial family would definitely belong to the Qin family. I just want to experience the demeanor of the #1 powerhouse in Great Xia. Luna's beautiful eyes were like lightning, and the corners of her clothes began to move automatically without wind. Ow! The low-pitched roar of the mythical beast Xuanwu suddenly sounded, and the terrifying coercion swept across the world. The faces of tens of thousands of people under the pressure were pale, and they felt as if they would die at any moment. At this time, a childish voice sounded, "Old ancestor, wait a minute." Everyone in the audience turned their heads curiously, only to see a pale-faced little doubting accompanied by Qin Tian to the battlefield, who was the other protagonist of the Qin family's tragedy, Qin Hao. "Old ancestor, I want to fight this battle myself." Although Qin Hao is young, but his eyes are like a torch, looking at his aloof brother, he believes that even if he loses the supreme bone, he can defeat him. "You sure?" The first ancestor's voice was very soft, but his heart was as happy as a 200-gene fat man. Not only successfully sent Qin Feng to study abroad, but also successfully activated Qin Hao's fighting spirit, and even avoided a war, laying a solid foundation for future usurpation. "I'm sure." Qin Hao nodded his head heavily and said, "I want my brother to know what is the strongest power." Ding dong, congratulations to the host for triggering the fateful duel. The level of the task is determined according to the psychological shadow left by the host to the younger brother, and the highest rewards can be obtained at the mythical and epic level. System, I find you are so flirtatious. Qin Feng originally wanted to refuse, but it gave too much. The strongest power. Qin Feng entered the scene in a second, revealing the wild laughter of the 4 Uchiha masters. "The strongest power is the power I have, the top of the fairy, proud of the world. With me, Qin Feng, there will be heaven." Crazy laughter echoed between heaven and earth. Qin Feng stopped pretending and had a showdown. The sword intent surprised everyone. The heavenly tribulation light made everyone's faces change drastically. The invincible sword heart made the audience scream, and when they saw Qin Feng's eyes, people went completely crazy. Chapter 36 Stupid O Doudou, are you feeling hopeless? You are listening at Mtlnovel.audio. Double pupils, ancient double pupils. The eyes of everyone in the audience stared like copper bells, and their hearts could not be calm for a long time. Nima. And let no one live. He was born with the talent of a great emperor, broke through the extraordinary realm at the age of 8, comprehended the sword intent, and condensed the sword heart. He has the potential to overwhelm the contemporary Tianjiao, but this is not his full strength. The supreme bone plus the ancient double pupil, it feels so terrifying just thinking about it. Oh my god, what kind of monster is this? The moon god was also speechless in shock, and said in his heart that no matter what method he used, he had to abduct this little kid back to the Inuit dynasty. The patriarchs of the Qin family were all dumbfounded, and seriously doubted whether they hadn't woken up. 8 years. Qin Feng has been in the Qin family for 8 years. They didn't even know that Qin Feng had a special physique, and he was also an ancient double pupil who was rare in thousands of years. Think of this dash. The patriarch of the Qin family looked at Qin Tian, and seeing that he also had a shocked expression, he immediately arranged for him to be hanged on a tree with a crooked neck to serve him, Nima. As their ancestors, they didn't know that it was justifiable, but as his own father, he didn't even know it. It was simply dereliction of duty. Impossible, absolutely impossible. Lin San below shook his head in disbelief. He really couldn't believe that Qin Feng still had a whole card. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for hitting the self-confidence of the chosen son, making him doubt himself, and gaining 10 villain points. Interesting. Qin Feng glanced at Lin San below, but he didn't expect to have unexpected gains. Why, how come? Qin Hao's body below began to tremble, feeling the psychological shadow from his brother. He was crushed like a giant and couldn't breathe, but he let him handle him in his hands, looking so small. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for showing his strength, which has increased the psychological shadow of the younger brother. The progress of the trigger task has reached 90, which is still 10 away from the full task. It's still 10. The mythical and epic prizes are at the same level as the red-haired old monster experience roll. How could Qin Feng give up so easily, and when he circulated the spiritual power in his body, golden runes immediately surged all over his body. These golden runes can only be condensed by practicing God-level exercises and reaching the state of Dzogchen. God-level Dzogchen exercises. Everyone's eyes widened again, feeling like they were going crazy. He had long heard that the eldest son of the Qin family was in his mother's womb, so he began to comprehend the companion technique, but he didn't expect it to be the strongest God-level technique. They can fight to the death for a heaven-level kung fu, but they comprehended the God-level companion kung fu in the mother's womb. It turns out that the end point that they can never reach in their lifetime is just the starting point for others. How can the gap between people be so big? This. Qin Hao was shocked again, and his body trembled more and more, although he also comprehended the accompanying skills in the mother's womb, but the current level is only the holy level, and he needs to continue to deduce it before he can advance to the God level. On the other hand, his elder brother brought his own God level skills as soon as he appeared on the stage, and the gap has been widened too much. Ding dong, congratulations to the host's task completion, reaching 95. Fuck, this is not a whole card for me. Qin Feng couldn't help but swear in his heart, and he gave up completely, and a golden sword mark broke out, the golden sword seal that can only be condensed by practicing the God-level Dzogchen swordsmanship represents that his sky-slashing and drawing swordsmanship is also at the God level. The audience was silent, and everyone was at a loss for words. Nima. Is this really an 8-year-old child? Others can't get a God-level exercise, but he created 2 God-level exercises, plus various buff bonuses, let alone suppressing the contemporary. Even if it is to suppress the ancient times, there is no problem at all. My stupid O Doudou, do you feel hopeless? There was a wicked smile on the corner of Qin Feng's mouth, and he almost couldn't help laughing out loud. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for planting an indelible psychological shadow in my younger brother's heart. The mission progress reaches 100, and the reward is a mythical epic treasure box. You need to win the fateful duel to get the reward. How come? Qin Hao looked at Qin Feng with horror on his face, and stepped back unconsciously. Too strong. It is so powerful that people can't resist at all, and they can't see the slightest hope of victory. Clap. Qin Tian stretched out his hand and patted Qin Hao's shoulder, without saying a word, only a smile of I believe you can do it. I can do it, I can do it, I will definitely defeat you. After Qin Hao felt full of father's love, his little face flushed, and he swore loudly to the world. Even though his voice was very small, he still showed incomparable firmness. It's just that everyone in the audience shook their heads, not optimistic about Qin Hao at all, not to mention that his supreme bone was dug up. Even if he hadn't been dug up, the hope of defeating a monster like Qin Feng was very slim. However, the ancestors of the Qin family were very pleased with this, and finally activated the child's fighting spirit, and it was not in vain that they collectively sent out to accompany him to act. Especially Qin Feng's performance is simply amazing. Those who don't know really think that he is some kind of heinous villain. Qin Feng. Ziyuan looked at Qin Feng in disbelief, giving her a particularly strange feeling. The Qin Feng she knew was talented, but pure and kind, but now Qin Feng is doing anything for power, even his own brother. What kind of person is he? This aroused her strong curiosity and wanted to find out about Qin Feng. Boom. Another terrifying coercion came, and the void was torn open, and two old men wearing dragon robes walked out from it. They were the current emperor and the supreme emperor of the great Xia dynasty. These two immortals are here too. Moon God Lu raised her eyebrows, knowing that she was in trouble. If there was only the first ancestor of the Qin family, it would be a joke if she wanted to take Qin Feng away, but if the two emperors of the royal family were added, even if she had the divine beast Xuanwu, she would have to kneel down and sing cool songs. Old man Qin, are you, a junior from the Qin family, planning to betray the Xia? The supreme emperor directly put his big hat on, making the atmosphere tense again in an instant. The first ancestor of the Qin family said indifferently, Qin Feng harmed his people first, and he is no longer a member of my Qin family. What he wants to do has nothing to do with my Qin family. Okay, what I want is your words. The Taishanghuang didn't talk too much. He raised his fist and blasted out like lightning. The sound of the fist was like a mountain and river tsunami, one punch after another, piercing through the void, pressing down all over the sky, as if to smash this void. Boom! The earth-shattering roar sounded, and the surrounding void seemed to collapse, and space ripples appeared rapidly. I'm coming too. Emperor Daxia also joined the battle, vowing to leave Qin Feng behind. Two immortals, you wait for me. Yushenki's teeth were itchy and could only be shifted strategically. Qin Feng, who was the instigator, took the opportunity to hug Luna's long legs. Sister Luna, save me. Chapter 37 Music and Dance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This guy. Ziyuan couldn't help but roll her eyes, and began to complain crazily in her heart. Just now he called the top of the fairy, proud of the world, but now he is calling her aunt to save him. It really has no morals at all. Boom, another roar sounded suddenly. I saw the great Xia Supreme Emperor and His Majesty, with endless brilliance circulating around them, like an eternal god, bombarding the moon god indiscriminately. Ow! The deep roar of the divine beast Xuanwu resounded suddenly, carrying moon god and others to tear through the space and leave quickly. The world and the thunder cleared the way for it, standing in the world with majesty and majesty, looking down on all the creatures in the world, making the whole world tremble. Everyone, don't make a move yet. The Supreme Emperor of Great Xia and the current saint were in a hurry, knowing how serious the consequences of letting Qin Feng run away would be. Now the Great Xia dynasty is going downhill. Letting Qin Feng return to the Qin family will threaten their throne, and letting the Inua dynasty get Qin Feng will endanger the safety of Great Xia, so no matter what, Qin Feng cannot be allowed to see the sun of tomorrow. The major aristocratic families have not done anything for a long time, and are still thinking about their own small calculations. This Qin Feng is a ruthless character who can kill even his own younger brother for the sake of strength. It would be fine if he can be dealt with permanently today, but if he is allowed to run away, they will be the ones who will suffer in the future. Besides, what does the change of dynasties have to do with their aristocratic family? Why don't they continue to play music and dance as usual if they change masters? Think of this. All the big families joined the battle one after another, but the operation was as fierce as a tiger, and the damage was only 0.5 at first glance, and they had completely grasped the essence of fishing, not only fulfilling the royal family's order, but also selling Qin Feng a favor. These old foxes, the old ancestors of the Qin family saw it clearly and did not say anything. Obviously, as the head of the family, they did not do little fishing in the past. What do these old guys mean? Moon God rolled his eyes at the old ancestors of the Qin family, seeing that they had no intention of making a move at all. However, this also relieved her a lot of pressure. It would be cool to face 3 old guys, but it was still very easy to leave when facing 2 old guys. Damn! Although the 2 emperors were desperately trying to stop them, they were still a little powerless in the face of the moon god. The main reason was that Xuanwu's defense was too high, and they were able to withstand the bombardment for a long time. There is also a group of teammates who are fishing for fish. It would be strange if they could stop them. In the end, he could only watch helplessly as Xuanwu tore through the void and disappeared in place gracefully. Let's go. Emperor Daxia's face was extremely gloomy, and he left with Huang Chengxi, Dong Chang, Shi Chang and others. Although he really wanted to order an immediate war with the Qin family, he also knew that the possibility of a fight was extremely slim, not to mention that there is no reason to be found, even with trumped-up charges, those aristocratic families may not be able to contribute. In the past, it was possible to use the Qin family as an excuse to divide up their interests in the future, but now that the second child of the Qin family has been abolished, and the eldest has gone abroad to develop, there is no such thing as dividing up interests. Let's go too. The first ancestor reluctantly turned his head to look at the direction Qin Feng was leaving. From now on, he can only rely on himself to walk the road in the Inua dynasty. Even if they want to help, they can't help him. Brother, I will definitely defeat you. Qin Hao's face was very serious, and he was ready to practice hard. Brother Qin, I will not lose to you. Lin San's eyes flashed unprecedented firmness, and he must surpass this perverted man next time we meet. Moon Dynasty. In the palace of the moon god, Luna came back riding Xuanwu to tear through the void, with Qin Feng and Zi Yuan at his side. Welcome to the moon god, goddess. The entire moon god palace was full of women, kneeling down and bowing to the moon god and Zi Yuan. Goddess. Qin Feng couldn't help turning his head to look at Zi Yuan, only to see her proudly raising her little head, as if she said that she was right. This girl is the goddess of the moon god palace, the next generation of the moon god. It's over, the moon god palace is going into decline from now on. Qin Feng thought of Ziyuan's battle scene. He was just punching the gangster excitedly, and couldn't imagine what the moon god palace would be like if it was handed over to her. What did you say? Ziyuan stomped her feet angrily, and vowed to teach this brat a lesson today, and the two chased and fought in the moon god palace. The female disciples in Luna Palace felt incredible that Luna actually brought back a little boy. Since the establishment of the moon god palace, there have been rules that men are not allowed to enter the palace, let alone a man brought into the palace by the moon god himself. Even a little boy is incredible. Stop it. Luna prevented the two little guys from fighting, and said with a beautiful smile, Qin Feng, why don't you join my Luna Palace from now on? Should be. Qin Feng nodded again and again. According to the rules of the world, you saved me, so I should marry you. This guy. Ziyuan gritted her teeth angrily. She didn't expect this little brat to really miss her aunt. Cuckoo. Luna was so teased that she giggled and said, you are such an interesting little guy. I now officially appoint you as the son of Luna Palace. Master Luna. The whole Luna Palace people hurriedly raised their voices, reminding the Luna Palace regulations that male disciples cannot be accepted. I know what I'm doing. Luna stared at Qin Feng with bright eyes. Anyone who has seen Qin Feng's monstrous talent will break the rules for him, even their moon god palace is no exception. What do you want to do? Qin Feng was stunned by the eyes of the moon god, and wondered if the moon god was tricking him into joining the moon god palace so that he could squeeze his waist, or the kind that would not take anesthetics. Daxia Palace. After Emperor Daxia came back, he was furious. Since the reform of the Inua dynasty 100 years ago, it has developed so rapidly that it has become a serious problem for the great Xia dynasty. And now it has Qin Feng, an unprecedented and peerless evildoer. Just thinking about it makes my scalp numb and I can't sleep at night. The ministers below also started a discussion. This time the moon god can escape with Qin Feng. The Qin family should bear the main responsibility. The Qin family is thinking about their love and hope that Qin Feng will return to the family in the future. The Qin family is a disaster, absolutely cannot stay. It's easy to say, the Qin family is not so easy to destroy. The old minister risked his life to see him, and hoped that His Majesty will recruit more poor people from all over the world, cultivate the nobles of the humble family, and strengthen me in Daxia. It's easy to recruit poor people from all over the world. This is destroying the foundation of the family. How could the family agree? The harm of the aristocratic family has penetrated into the bone marrow, and the wound must be healed by scraping the bone, so that there is hope for great Xia. Your Majesty, the people of the world have suffered for a long time. That the Emperor Daxia looked at all the veterans who were loyal to the country, and knew that what they said was right, but the aristocratic family is not so easy to deal with. The reason why they follow you is because you can bring their interests, but if you make them lose their benefits, they will overthrow you without hesitation and support a new regime. At this time, a young eunuch came to report, "Your Majesty, Princess Nanfeng sent someone to say that she recently met an interesting young man who has a way to break through the family." Chapter 38 Men, There Are Men. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Luna Palace. Since Qin Feng officially joined, all the young ladies have gone crazy. Man. There is a man in their Luna Palace. Why do I feel like they are more excited than me? Qin Feng felt like entering the Ponzi cave, and every night before going to bed, he had to double-check that the door was unlocked. Teeth. Xiaobai jumped onto Qin Feng's shoulder and rubbed his head like a kitten. The meaning is very obvious, it's time to eat. The landlord's family can't help you eat like this. Qin Feng reluctantly took out a small bag, and there was only one blood bone left in it. After eating, he had to spend his own money to buy it, or he could go to the wild forest to find it. It's just that the wild forest is the territory of monsters. Even if there are natural materials and treasures, they are also guarded by powerful monsters. It is not so difficult to obtain them, the system suddenly said. The host can redeem and buy spiritual pet feed from the system. Spirit pet carrot, exclusive feed for rabbit-shaped soul pets. Long-term use can increase various attributes, and the exchange price is 10 villain points. A piece costs 10 points. Qin Feng called the black shop in his heart. It was simply a robbery. The food intake of his family's rice bucket is at least 4 or 5 per day, that is, 40 or 50 points, 4 or 500 points for 10 days, 4 or 5,000 points for 100 days, 10,000 or 20,000 points for a year. It hasn't been this good. It's not the same as before. Before meeting the next victim, the chosen one, the villain has to save some time. Qin Feng clicked on the system, and there are still 69 villain points. Because it has not reached 100 million, it cannot be exchanged for a Dzogchen card to upgrade several other god-level martial arts to Dzogchen, but spending 3 points a month to open a fold comprehension aura is not a problem, and it is enough for him to use it for a year or two. I hope that in the next 2 years, I can meet the chosen one. Qin Feng snatched the last blood bone from Xiaobai's mouth, and threw it a carrot that was exchanged for 10 villain points from the system. My rabbit, no, eat this. Xiaobai was so angry that he spit out words on the spot. It is true that this carrot is edible, but it is obviously not of the same grade as shui bodi. Just like dog food, can it be of the same grade as pork ribs? It's not good for children to be picky eaters, most of them are out of habit. Qin Feng took out the sky Excalibur and put it on Xiaobai's neck. The frightened little guy ate what was called a maliu, and he gnawed it clean after a few pouts, even eating the carrot leaves. Not bad. Qin Feng put away the sky Excalibur in satisfaction, and swallowed the last blood bone in one gulp. Boom. Qin Feng's body shook suddenly, and he hurriedly sat cross-legged on the bed to enter the cultivation state. The energy transformed by the blood bone surged through his body like a broken river, crazily merging into the flesh and blood. Teeth. Xiaobai yelled aggrievedly, and waved out the bamboo slips of saints. It was born with an independent portable space, and slept next to Qin Feng holding the saints' bamboo slips. The city of Tianqin, Lin's, and finally returned safely after going through hardships, and brought back Qin Feng's full body. Sword intent, sword heart, supreme bone, ancient double pupils, and self-created god-level skills and sword skills. The city lord Lin Hao beat his feet and chest after listening, not to mention how regretful he was. If he had chosen Qin Feng to be his son-in-law in the first place, wouldn't he have fallen into his arms directly given the situation where he was forced by the Qin family to have nowhere to go? It's a pity that it's too late to say anything now. Qin Feng has been brought back to the Inuit dynasty by the moon god. There is also his son-in-law Qin Hao, who was originally optimistic, whose supreme bone was dug up and turned into a waste. I heard that Qin Tian's position as the head of the family was also taken away, and the family's life was miserable. I married my daughter for profit, how can I marry now? Lin Hao felt extremely headache, wanted to withdraw from the engagement but did not dare to do so. After all, the Qin family is the #1 family in the remote ancient times, and retiring the marriage at the door is tantamount to slapping the Qin family in the face. For a big family, face is more important than life, and if it is not done well, it will go to war directly, but let him marry his daughter to a waste, he is so unwilling. Time flies, 7 years have passed. In the past 7 years, Jianjiao has continuously emerged, and the degree of introversion has become more and more intense, and the talents displayed are even more powerful and terrifying. Qin Feng's record of breaking through the transcendent realm at the age of 8 and comprehending sword intent, etc., was also broken by many arrogances one after another. Since Qin Feng was appointed as the son of the Moon God Palace 7 years ago, he has kept a low profile and rarely appeared in front of people, and no news about his battle has been released. However, the sword intent, sword heart, supreme bone, ancient double pupil and other abilities he demonstrated in the Great Xia dynasty shocked the entire Huanggu, and was also rated as the #1 pride of the Huanggu. Even if he hasn't shown his face for 7 years, no one can shake his title of no. Tianjiao in the ancient times. At this time, the back mountain of Luna Palace. A huge waterfall, like a long silver river, young man with clear eyes and slanted eyebrows, very handsome, with a bare upper body and a golden dragon tattoo, sitting cross-legged under the waterfall to practice, letting the impacting horses fall on his body. There were dull sounds reverberate. This person is the 15-year-old Qin Feng, whose cultivation has been promoted to the 9th level of the transcendent realm. It is definitely not that the beauty of the Moon God Palace is like a wolf and a tiger, disintegrating people's will, but to strengthen their own foundation, correct. It is to strengthen one's own foundation. However, although his cultivation base has not been greatly improved, other abilities have been deeply developed. Celestial Jiguang has become stronger. In addition to the 3 basic abilities of slowing down, decomposing movements, and seeing the source, Chongtong also perceives the divine light of yin and yang. Because there are so many ultimate moves, it is easy to kill a cultivator who has entered the Dao realm. The only regret is that in the past 7 years, I haven't met a single chosen one, and the nearly 70 villain points have already been used up no matter how I save them. Now he can only earn meager villain points to get by. Interacting with the young ladies of the Moon God Palace, which makes him miss Lin San even more, and he almost becomes lovesick. In the past 7 years, I have been hurt by alcohol and sex, and my cultivation base has dropped so much. Starting today, I will stop drinking. Qin Feng secretly made up his mind to quit drinking. Although he hasn't had a few drinks, it must be because of the wine. Don't squeeze, let me see. Not far away, a group of young ladies from Luna Palace were peeping, and they screamed excitedly after seeing Qin Feng's abdominal muscles. The only man in Luna Palace, he has finally grown up. Buy a ticket, buy a ticket, buy a ticket and watch the man for 5 minutes. A childish voice sounded, and upon closer inspection, it was a cute white rabbit walking on 2 legs, and it was Xiao Bai whom Qin Feng had raised for 7 years. Since Qin Feng fed it carrots 7 years ago, it has learned to raise rabbits by itself in order to have a bite of authentic natural treasures. It was not smooth at the beginning. How could it be so easy to obtain Tian Kadabo? But under Qin Feng's years of teaching, it quickly discovered business opportunities. Men are a scarce commodity in Luna Palace, so every time Qin Feng came to practice under the waterfall, it began to sell tickets. A spirit stone for 5 minutes, no deception. Of course, Qin Feng doesn't often show off his figure under the waterfall, so he often auctions some original underwear worn by Qin Feng to supplement his family. Chapter 39 Change career to become a flower picker. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My rabbit is really a good rabbit who is diligent and thrifty. Xiao Bai gleefully counted the spirit stones he earned, and took out the original underwear he stole last night. As long as he auctioned them off, he could buy a treasure of heaven and earth. Qin Feng's puberty underwear, the base price is 20 lingxia. I give out 25 spirit stones. The young lady of Luna Palace is serious about men, and the moment the original panties came out, the audience immediately screamed, whoosh. A sharp sound of breaking wind gradually resounded in the vast forest, and Qin Feng under the waterfall suddenly opened his eyes. With a flash of fierceness, an invisible sword energy gushed out from his body. Bump. The invisible sword energy instantly tore through the waterfall and collided with the incoming energy, causing the water in the waterfall to splash everywhere. Two beauties, one big and one small, appeared beside the waterfall, namely Luna and Ziyuan. Different from Ziyuan 7 years ago, they have faded from their youthfulness and innocence. Every frown and smile reveals infinite charm. I heard that I have practiced with Luna all these years, and I have practiced some powerful skills that only girls can practice. Yes, your understanding of Jieni and Jianxin is getting deeper and deeper. Luna looked at Qin Feng with satisfaction. It was not in vain that she broke the palace rules and made him the son of the Moon God Palace. In the future, the Moon God Palace will definitely become stronger because of this son. Not strong, how to marry Sister Luna, I still have this awareness. Qin Feng frivolously raised his eyebrows unilaterally, showing off his figure in front of the Moon God. Plop! Ziyuan angrily stepped forward and kicked Qin Feng into the waterfall, and said angrily, I have been thinking about my aunt since I was a child, and a beautiful woman as big as me is beside me, didn't you see it? It's quite big. Qin Feng came out of the water and took a look. He didn't know what Ziyuan had eaten these years, but the scale was indeed getting bigger and bigger, so big that he couldn't hold it with one hand. Rogue! Ziyuan's little face flushed red after being teased. She fought with Qin Feng again. Stop making trouble, you two. Moon God is used to Qin Feng's teasing, and said lightly, Qin Feng, in a few days it will be the death knockout match of the Inuit dynasty every 10 years, are you interested in participating? Death knockout. Qin Feng frowned. He had heard about this knockout match. Since the reform of the Inuit dynasty 100 years ago, the death knockout match has become the key to the rise of the Inuit dynasty. It can be understood as the college entrance examination. The major forces of the Inuit dynasty send their outstanding talents to the exam, and those who pass will be given priority training by the Inuit dynasty. Strong teachers and abundant cultivation resources can be said to have everything one expects to find. The only difference from the college entrance examination is that after thousands of troops cross the single plank bridge, the college entrance examination failure can be repeated. The death knockout is just like its name. In addition to walking across the single plank bridge alive, many people will stay in the examination room forever. Qin Feng doesn't care much about life and death. What he cares about is whether he can meet his beloved Son of Heaven. At this time, not far away came the cheers of the young lady, as if celebrating that I bought underwear with 100 lingsha. Rice bucket. Qin Feng just touched the water and landed behind Xiaobai. When Xiaobai heard this name, he immediately blew up, and shouted angrily, my rabbit is called Qin Xiaobai, Qin Xiaobai, Qin Xiaobai, whoever dares to call me a rabbit in the future, my rabbit will definitely kill him. Okay, rice bucket. Qin Feng nodded to show that he knew it, but he didn't have the habit of changing it. He said why his underwear disappeared before it was washed. It turned out that the rabbit had taken it out for public auction. It's Luna. A group of young ladies seemed to have encountered the pupils of the class teacher, and they fled the scene in fright. Xiaobai, you are too much. Ziyuan stood aside angrily, strongly condemning Xiaobai's behavior. I don't want to do this either, but I'm hungry. Xiaobai looked aggrieved, not to mention how bitter his childhood was. Although there were no natural treasures to eat in the past, carrots were still available on time, but recently, for some reason, even the supply of carrots has disappeared. If it doesn't sell something, it will starve the rabbit to death. Ugh. Qin Feng sighed helplessly. It wasn't that he didn't want to feed the rabbit, it was because there was no villain anymore. He is also living a very difficult life now. If he can't find another victim, he is the chosen one, and he plans to change his career to become a flower picker. Although I earn less, I can barely survive the day. At this time, a young lady came to report, Master Shensi, there is a genius outside who wants to challenge you. Here we go again. Qin Feng felt very speechless. Ever since he was named the prodigy in the ancient times, people have been coming to the Moon God Palace to challenge him, but these people are not the chosen ones he is looking for, so he really can't arouse the slightest interest. The young lady continued, Master Shensi, this person is not an ordinary person, but a disciple of the Son of Heaven from the great Xia dynasty. Student of the Son of Heaven. Qin Feng frowned. He was no stranger to this word. If his memory is not mistaken, he should be right. During the Tang dynasty, the imperial examination system and the emperor's disciples were used to end the rule of the aristocratic family and greatly strengthen the centralization of power. What is the Emperor Daxia doing now? Does he want to take the opportunity to weaken the family's strength? Soon, Qin Feng found the relevant files. 7 years ago, the great Xia emperor suddenly announced that he would accept disciples, and all selected Tianjiao would become disciples of the Son of Heaven. As soon as the news came out, the entire great Xia was boiling. Thinking about it, the emperor's apprentice felt that it was a supreme honor. Even the major families could hardly resist the temptation of the word student of the Son of Heaven, so a vigorous selection of the emperor's disciples began. Not surprisingly, the aristocrats won the victory, but a large number of inferior arrogances also emerged. Emperor Daxia also kept his promise and accepted Tianjiao from aristocratic family as his apprentice. As for Tianjiao from poor family, he did not let him go, and accepted him as a disciple of the quasi-emperor. This old guy is really targeting the family. Qin Feng could tell at a glance that Emperor Daxia was planning something. The words disciple of the Son of Heaven seem to be extremely noble, but they are actually the servants of the Emperor of Daxia. The humble Tianjiao has no backing, so he can only rely on Emperor Daxia in the future and become his sword against the aristocratic family. Tianjiao of the aristocratic family has the status of master and apprentice. If he does not obey orders, he will be treasonous. Morally speaking, the Emperor Daxia has won. At the same time, he was also very curious as to who was behind the scenes helping Emperor Daxia with his advice. Based on his 10-year experience as a bookworm, this person was most likely the chosen one he had been searching for 7 years. Boom! A roar came from the front hall, as well as the scolding of the emperor's disciple. Qin Feng, you have the ability to be a traitor, you have the ability to come out. I know you are at home, don't hide in and keep quiet. Chapter 40. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Outside the Luna Palace, a group of ladies in white clothes came out with anger on their faces, and surrounded a strong man. This person is Zhu Tu, the emperor's protege who came to challenge Qin Feng. Seeing that Qin Feng hadn't come out to accept his challenge for a long time, he actually smashed the gate of their moon god palace and scolded their son of God in the street. I really thought that I was still in the great Xia dynasty, with the support of the great Xia emperor. This is the Inua dynasty, and it is not his turn to be a protege of the great Xia dynasty to act wildly. Presumptuous. The faces of the ladies and sisters of the moon god palace were icy cold, and the long swords in their hands were unsheathed and aimed at Zhu Tu. What? Qin Feng dare not come out to accept the challenge, he wants to bully the few with more. Zhu Tu still had an arrogant expression on his face, and he didn't put the other party in his eyes at all. He is one of the members of the great Xia dynasty's mission. He was ordered by the emperor to watch the Inua dynasty's 10-year life and death knockout match. Killing him, a disciple of the Son of Heaven, is tantamount to declaring war on the great Xia dynasty. The great Xia mission is amazing. I'm going to teach him how to be a man. Ziyuan obviously couldn't stand this kind of anger, rolled up her sleeves and was ready to go to war. Wait a moment. Qin Feng raised his hand to stop Ziyuan, and said suspiciously, do you think there is a possibility that he is just a pawn in someone else's hands? Peace. Ziyuan is not an idiot either. Lu Mei frowned slightly. You mean someone is setting up a trap for you? It's not for me, it's for Daxia's aristocratic family. Qin Feng scratched his chin and thought about it. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. Now that the great Xia emperor has created the disciples of the Son of Heaven, it is obvious that the aristocratic family is superior, but in the end he must support the poor family's Tianjiao to replace the rule of the aristocratic family. And how to deal with this group of aristocrats has become a headache for the great Xia emperor, such as forming them into a mission and sending them to the Inua dynasty to watch the life and death knockout competition. If something goes wrong in the middle, the feces will be put directly on the head of the Inua dynasty. It would be great if the aristocratic family can start a war with the Inua dynasty. A game set up for the great Xia family. Ziyuan's little head was full of question marks, and she didn't understand what Qin Feng was talking about. Isn't it? Try it and you'll know. Qin Feng floated out of the moon god palace lightly with his feet, ready to force out the person behind the scenes. Maybe he was the chosen one he was looking for. Qin Feng, it's Qin Feng. The outside of the moon god palace was already full of people, and when they saw Qin Feng coming out, they screamed excitedly. Since Qin Feng showed his complete body to the world 7 years ago, everyone wanted to see the fighting demeanor of this ancient pride. It's a pity that Qin Feng has never accepted anyone's challenge since he became the son of the moon god palace. Today, he is here, and he is walking with aggressive steps. Meet the son of God. The ladies in white clothes saluted respectfully, looking at Qin Feng with strange eyes. At this time, Qin Feng has shed the immaturity of his childhood, inherited his mother's good looks, and is a proper handsome man, coupled with the talent of suppressing the eternal, and the only man in the moon god palace. He is definitely the common object of all female disciples. Qin Feng, you finally came out. Zhu Tu was so excited that he almost let out a pig cry, and a strong energy burst out from his body, transforming into a black-skinned wild boar with sharp beak and fangs, and waved out a heavy butcher's knife. Boom! The butcher's knife hit the ground heavily, and the surrounding floors burst instantly. Qin Feng said with disgust on his face, I thought I was some kind of powerful master, but I turned out to be just a piece of rubbish at the 4th level of Lingwu. What happened to the 4th level of Lingwu? Unconvinced, Zhu Tu said, I am a disciple of the Son of Heaven. Even the 4th level of Lingwu is more important than the 9th level of Lingwu. Okay. Everyone around nodded in agreement, feeling that what Zhu Tu said made sense. However, compared with Qin Feng, his disciple of the Son of Heaven, it seems that he is not a star and a half behind. 7 years ago, Qin Feng was a superordinary 3rd-level cultivation base. With his perverted talent, he doesn't know what level he has reached now. Entrance. It is still the Tianzong above Taoism. I've been talking for a long time. What kind of cultivation are you? Zhu Tu asked nervously. He had already made plans for Qin Feng to break through and enter Taoism, so he was ready to surrender. Extraordinary 9 layers. Qin Feng announced loudly proudly, not forgetting to show his strength. The scene was suddenly silent. Everyone looked at Qin Feng in disbelief, and howled like a groundhog in their hearts. Nima. How could it be possible to be the 9th level of the extraordinary, to be the arrogant of the desolate antiquity, and to suppress the eternal age? On average, it takes more than a year to break through a small level. What has he been doing all these years? Can't he be obsessed with flowers in the moon god palace and can't extricate himself? Zhu Tu burst open on the spot. I don't know where Qin Feng's self-confidence came from. Qin Feng asked again, how do you want to fight? Is it a single fight, or a group fight? Of course it's a one-on-one match. Zhu Tu was a little confused. Understood. Qin Feng gestured to the young ladies, indicating that they could go up and challenge Zhu Tu one-on-one. Puff. The onlookers spat out a mouthful of old blood on the spot, and there was a big shit in their hearts, which was completely different from what they imagined the #1 hero in the ancient times to show his demeanor. Call out, call out, call out. The ladies in white don't care about fairness or unfairness, they only know to faithfully carry out the orders of Lord Shensi, and stab Zhu Tu with the sharp sword in their hands flashing with ripples as dark as water. Zhu Tu said angrily, Qin Feng, you are shameless, the one-on-one you agreed to turn into a gang fight. That's right, you singled out a group of us. Qin Feng's face was full of innocence, and he showed his teeth, proving that he had teeth. The onlookers were completely speechless. They didn't expect Qin Feng to be this kind of person, and he didn't have the burden of being the #1 idol in ancient times. Bang. Zhu Tu was no match for the young ladies in white, and he was beaten to the ground after 3 strikes. I don't agree. Zhu Tu was full of anger. It's none of my business whether you accept it or not. Qin Feng rolled his eyes and felt that there was something wrong with this person. Then he took out a golden abacus bigger than Xiao Bai's and started to calculate for Zhu Tu how much he would need to pay for destroying their Luna Palace. Zhu Tu said in disbelief, 100 million. It's the best spirit stones. If you add them up, you'll only get 1 spirit stone. Qin Feng said honestly, that's right, I just want you to pay me an extra 99 top-quality spirit stones. that the audience fell silent again in an instant. Nima. Such an honest answer. They didn't know what to say for a while. You are robbing, I have no money. Zhu Tu strongly condemned, still stubbornly resisting. It doesn't matter if you don't have money, Qin Feng said with a playful smile, you can pay with flesh.